God damn, it's been like 2 years since we've seen an MCU film in theaters. I'm not gonna lie, it was a good feeling going back to the movies to see an actual blockbuster. I've seen some smaller stuff on the big screen since the pandemic hit, but it seems like nothing gets people more hyped than superhero movies, right? The 24th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is finally here. So let's just dive into my spoiler-free thoughts on Black Widow. Right off the bat, I'm just going to put this out there. I want to be talking about spoilers from the previous MCU films and TV shows, so if you haven't seen any of those, I'd click that back button right now if I were you. So Black Widow is directed by Kate Shortland. She did a handful of minor projects before, but this one centers around the character of Natasha Romanoff after the events of Captain America Civil War. So if some of you were wondering how she's still alive after Endgame, she ain't. Her ass is dead for good. Also worth mentioning, 10 seconds into this movie, it's ridiculously obvious that they filmed in Georgia. Works out for David Harbour though, right? He didn't have to go far to head back to that Stranger Things set. But anyways, in 2016, we get to see her on the run for violating the Sokovia Accords, all while confronting a conspiracy tied to her past with the help of her assigned Russian family. Starting off with the cast, of course, we have Scarlett Johansson returning to the role of Natasha Romanoff one last time. And I liked her in this. We get to see her world and some of the people she's met along the way on previous missions. Black Widow kicks all types of ass in this movie, and even if the family is dysfunctional, they have great chemistry on screen together. Florence Pugh, who's in Fighting With My Family and Midsummer, she plays the character Yelena Belova, and she is Natasha Romanoff's sister, so to speak, in the film. Whenever her and Scarlett Johansson are on screen together, you know it's going to be a fun time. This girl's got jokes too, and she's almost as funny as David Harbour's character, Red Guardian. He's basically the Russian Captain America, and I loved seeing him just be cocky as hell and embellish some of his stories a bit. But he's not just a brute. You see him be a family man in this movie for a decent amount. The only negative for me is the character never really got any good fights. Even the fight teased in the trailer between Red Guardian and Taskmaster, dude gets his ass whooped right away. I mean, I get it's a movie about Black Widow, but you could have let David Harbour's character have some moment to shine, right? Rachel Weisz plays Melina Vostokov, the mother figure. She's definitely the brains of the operation. She's witty and keeps the rest of the family in check, so yeah, I liked her too. Pretty much the family in this movie is the best part. They even had a scene in this movie where they actually had to fake being American. Like, they had to go through the trouble of taking fake family photos, putting them up around the house, and in scrapbooks. That's brilliant. But I will say, I wish they had a scene where they all work together as a team in a fight. Like, not two people doing one thing, two people somewhere else doing whatever, but all four of them in one room just kicking ass together. The villains were one of the weak points for me. After playing the 2018 Spider-Man video game, I was hype as hell to learn that the character of Taskmaster was being adapted into the MCU, but what we got was trash. Like, Taskmaster was this cocky-ass fighter who studied people's moves and got smarter the longer they fought the person. But in this one, they kind of go the cheap route and make it all tech-based. Not to mention the person in the suit doesn't talk at all in the film. Early fights with the character are entertaining, but yeah, wasted potential, honestly. There's always someone pulling the strings in these types of movies, right? But the character they had was the equivalent of Zemo in Captain America Civil War. Just some uninteresting baddie that people will forget about in a few days. But hey, at least Zemo got his redemption in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't mean to be negative about this movie, but the second half really went downhill for me. The first was well thought out, the plot setup was good, the action was fantastic. It felt like a spy espionage type film like Captain America the Winter Soldier. And the second half just turned into an over-the-top, cartoony clusterfuck. Like in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the big fight at the end just takes place on a city street. It's personal, contained, gritty. This movie's big battle at the end, which is probably where all their budget went, takes place in a city floating high above the clouds. Gee, I wonder why that sounds familiar. So many aspects of this film try to play the audience for a fool. Like the fact that a little dinky Cessna plane made it from Ohio to Cuba in one go? Yeah, okay. And the amount of car accidents, falls, and other shit these girls take in this film is insane. Like shit that you would be in the hospital for weeks. I know the whole Black Widow program trained them to be just like, oh, the pain makes you stronger, but come on now, these girls are not super soldiers. I've talked about this a little bit before, but since the comic book film genre is getting so oversaturated these days, I'm just getting harder to please with these movies. Every once in a while you get a movie like Joker or Captain America the Winter Soldier that's completely different from what we've seen so far. But this movie is something I'll probably never watch again unless I'm doing a marathon. Nevertheless, I did still find it entertaining. There's a ton of great humor from all the characters in this movie. The action in this film was very well done. Also worth mentioning that a new character in this film is name-dropped casually in a scene from the first Avengers movie 9 years ago. Props to Kevin Feige for that one. But would I recommend this movie? For diehard MCU fans, I think so. But for the casual moviegoer who hasn't seen all the MCU films or Disney Plus TV shows, you can honestly skip it. There is an after-credits scene that sets up something interesting as hell. But again, for people who haven't seen all the MCU films or Disney Plus TV shows, you're probably going to be a little bit confused. So in the end, it's just a mediocre send-off for the character of Black Widow to me. But hey, at least there's some interesting movies and TV shows coming to the MCU. Let me know which one you guys are excited for the most in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.